Well, I'm a product of the 80s, and when I use the term fight and all that stuff, we use those terms. Our whole language was a language that came out of what we call the struggle. Because there was institutionalized racism, there was laws that were racist. At the end of the day, the police had to implement them. The way that manifests on the street was through suspicion, stereotypes of Asians and Afro-Caribbeans and the whole kind of stuff. If you look at newspapers that period about Afro-Caribbeans being portrayed as muggers, and all of those kind of things, in some ways, was the tinderbox that was waiting to erupt. So state racism, institutionalized racism, was very much, for us, was a major issue. We could challenge racism on the street, but at the end of the day, the biggest challenge that we faced was to bring about fundamental ideological changes within institutions. I can tell you one particular incident, that I was involved with. There was a campaign called the Fargate 3, which was 3 Rastafarians who was basically stopped by the police, and when they refused and challenged, there was an altercation took place, and they defended themselves and were very severely beaten up by the police. And we, as the Asian Youth Movement, campaigned on their behalf and to fight for justice for that. Another incident was a guy called Zafar. Zafar was a member of the Asian Youth Movement. He was systematically being followed by the police, harassed by the police. He was a skinhead, which is interesting, a nation skinhead at that time. And then at one time he was arrested. He was stopped. The police searched his car, and when they couldn't find anything, they found in the back of his car he had a hammer, and the hammer was very much part of the job that he did, and in the boot of the car. And he was then arrested by the police and charged with carrying an offensive weapon. And we then campaigned for his right to be released, and we were actually won, and the charges were dropped. How did we campaign, bring about the changes? Was very much, it was organising campaigns, having clear demands. If we felt there's an injustice had taken place, it was an injustice that affected everybody. It's about humanity, and it's also about making sure that white colleagues and members of the community also recognise their humanity, and by dismantling racism, they discover the better part of themselves, right? And it's about building solidarity. And it was important, first of all, for us to go to the families, to pay our due respects to the families. And what we said is that this is not just something that affects you. This affects us because it could have been any one of us. And it wasn't just any one of us, it was in fact 2 of us. It could have been my uncle, it could have been my grandfather, it could have been any member of our community. So it wasn't the issue of that family, it was an issue for the whole community. And our objective was to turn the family from victims to people who began to fight for justice and become strong in their conviction. Originally, they did not want to get involved in a campaign and did not feel that it was racist, and we respected that. But as the information began to come out, it was incredible the way the family began to get changed and transformed, and then believed that there had to be a campaign, they had to demand for justice. And you could see slowly that the family began to gain confidence and begin to speak out, and how they began to grow from victim to becoming fighters for social justice and equality. And our job is to turn an incident into an issue into a cause, and mobilise communities so that the communities can begin to bring about the change that is required. And what this has done is it's made me proud of my history. It's also made me understand how to understand and rationalise the world, to resolve problems. It's also given me confidence and belief in humanity, bringing out the best of human beings. I believe that, that human beings, irrespective of colour, creed or religion, whatever, essentially are cooperative. I believe that people are good, and I believe that what we have to do is to inspire and bring people together and to create a better society. And I believe that those societies are possible.